Hey everybody that's joining us today. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes for everybody to join us. Feel free to comment in the chat box where you're joining us from as we give it a couple more minutes for more people to join. Alrighty. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Carla. I'm a career advisor here at Avocademy, and we have a couple of Avocademy graduates here. We have Patrick and Anne or Anthony. So I'm gonna start off with the first question for y'all, which is like to tell me a little bit more about yourself, like what was your background in before and how long did it take you to like complete the foundations course and then the career jumpstart program?
Okay. I can go first and knock that out. Hi guys, Patrick again. I am coming at you from upstate New York. I graduated from Avocademy in June of this year. I started off my foundations course in July 2022. I was a analyst for a international credit union. It took me about 3 months to finish up my foundations course with working full time and whatnot. It took me just a smidge longer than what is usually projected. Thankfully, the mentors and everyone were completely understanding and worked with me on that timeline. I was very thankful for that. Getting into foundations, it was actually a really slow process for me. I kind of realized in so I did foundations in summer 2022. It was about early 2021, maybe summer 2021, that I just saw an ad for Avocademy on TikTok. And I was like, that's weird. I've never heard of UX UI design before. And I kind of just favorited it and kept putting it in the back of my mind. And eventually, time went by and I'm just like, man, I am not happy with my position where I'm at. And then I jumped the gun and said, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. I looked up some reviews, all great about Avocademy. And I thought only one way to find out for sure if it's legit. And I signed up for foundations and I loved it. It was fantastic.
That's amazing. That's super, super cool.
So yeah, I guess I'll hop in and kind of talk a bit about my background. So I'm Anthony or Ant, based in New Jersey. So I'm on the East Coast. So I guess I'll talk about like before I got into foundations and found Avocademy. So my background is in tech, like account management, customer success. I did that for about 2 or 3 years, and then I transitioned into market research, which is very data and analytics heavy. I like data and analytics, but not that much. So I figured I needed to make a change. Yeah, so I actually started out like dabbling into UX. I started out with the Google cert. And that gave me just an idea of whether or not I really wanted to spend the money to go into like a boot camp or take it any further. So I didn't finish the Google cert. I did maybe a month or a month and a half of it, and then I stopped. I was actually in the process of I was working full time. I was doing the Google cert, and I was also in school. I was getting my MBA at the time, so I was just like, I'm not going to do this right now. It's just not good timing. I came across Avocademy. I was still in school, so I was like, not right now, maybe later. And my friends and my family and my fiance were all like, when are you actually going to make this jump? Because you're not happy here. Like that's what you want to do. But I just didn't have the time or honestly finances at the time to figure it out. So about a year or so after, I started looking back into Avocademy again. And I just said, I'm just gonna do it, because if not, I'm just gonna sit here and keep saying I'll look at it later. I'll look at it later. And eventually, I was like, now is, a year would have been better, but now is the next best time. So, yeah. So I did foundations. It took me about a month and a half. I'm someone who like, once I decide I'm going to do it, and once I spend like my money on it, like it's going to get done as quickly as possible. So I did it for about a month and a half. Finished that, and then I jumped into CJ, and I graduated from CJ. I started in March, I want to say, and I finished the program, I want to say in July, end of July is when I got my offer. And yeah, that's pretty much how I found Avocademy, and just how long the timeline has been for me.
No, that's awesome. Thank you both for sharing. I'm curious to know what your roles currently are for the jobs that you're working at right now and what companies you're working for, if you don't mind disclosing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You want to go first, Anthony?
Oh no, go ahead, Pat. Take it away.
Okay. Yeah, I am a UX UI designer for Xerox. Like I said, been there since June of this year, and it has been going fantastic so far. Really loving it.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
I'm a UX designer for Mr. Beast, and also, yeah, really enjoying it. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it's been a really good experience so far.
Have you met him?
No, not yet. Not
That's
yet.
so, that's so awesome, though. Thank you both for sharing. What do you think the biggest challenge was when transitioning from your backgrounds into UX and UI design?
I,
Uh, that
I can start. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I can
I gotta think
start.
about mine.
Yeah, no problem. You said what's the biggest challenge, or what was the biggest challenge with pivoting?
What was the biggest challenge of like the process of transitioning? So I have a question here that's more so like what challenges you face while taking the course, but I also want to know about like for you the biggest challenge like of thinking about like okay, I want to transition into a new career, like what's holding me back right now kind of thing of taking that step.
Yeah, so I'll answer them separately because I feel like it's two different sides of that. So, as far as like challenging with pivoting, I feel like it's a lot of mindset. I graduated from Rutgers with a technology bachelor's in IT, and then I went to Rider where I got my MBA, and just kind of being able to switch course, and I guess like once you like go through all the go through the process of getting your degrees or whatever, you're kind of, your brain is like on one set track, and you're just like, I'm just gonna just full speed ahead, like this is what I signed up for, this is what I'm gonna do. And kind of having to like take a step back and realize like, okay, if I change my route, it doesn't mean that my hard work has gone to waste. It's just a different move, it's a different direction. But this stuff is still still holds weight. So I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge when it came to like accepting that, okay, I'm going to make this pivot. It's not, if you would ask me 5 years ago, I would have told you there's no way I was going to go this route. So yeah, just making that, shifting your mindset, I think, around pivoting and what that means, and knowing that like my skills are still transferable to this next, or this new area of my career. As far as like challenges taking the course, for me, time was a big one. I work full time, and my hours, I'm not someone who worked 60 hours a week, but sometimes I could work, 40, maybe 45, 50 if there's a really hectic, if it's a really hectic time. And knowing that I have to get off work, and then, I have to walk my dog, and I have to make dinner, but now I also have to log on and do this course because I paid for it and it's going to get done. So, yeah, I think that was probably the biggest challenge, but it's nice having, I think Avocademy does a really good job of making sure that you have like community to lean on and mentors. So you never feel like you're going through it alone. There are people who work full time and have families and have whatever other obligations they have. And just being able to lean on your teammates in that way, just to have somebody say like, hey, I feel you, it's tough, but we're going to get through it. So that was kind of long, but sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
You actually took the words right out of my mouth. The biggest challenge transitioning for myself as well was pivoting that mindset. So I graduated with a degree in telecommunications and film. So I already changed. I did a career change once to data analytics, and I was really like, man, do I really want to do this again? And it was just focusing on where do I want to see myself in X years. And I knew I wasn't happy where I was, and I love the mindset of like never being stagnant. You know, change is good. Well, most of the time change is good. But yeah, that was definitely the biggest challenge of just getting ready to change up everything. Shoot. And I changed way more than I thought I would. With my first position as a UX designer, I moved across the country with a 2-week notice. So a lot changed. As for taking the course, absolutely. Time management is probably the number one thing. Like I said, with my timeline, I had to extend out a little bit. Thankfully, everything worked out just fine. Another challenge, so I'm not taking all your answers right there, Anthony, I would say during the course itself, finding the best way to implement mentor feedback. And what I mean by that is, I remember once or twice, thankfully this didn't happen too many times, I got a feedback from mentor A, and then I implemented that feedback, and I had my work reviewed by mentor B, and they wanted something different. And I had a conversation with them like, okay, this is what this person was asking me. Is this not the right thing? And they would explain me, oh, you almost had it right, but look at it from this angle. And this is what mentor A was talking about. If that made any sense at all.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot with design in general because it's so objective. Like, especially with people that have like 10 years of experience, 5 years of experience in design, like they've seen so many different aspects of it and different solutions to an initial problem that sometimes like one might be a little more updated with how they do things, and then the other one's like, well, maybe take a look at it in this other way. So it can be hard to adapt to that at the beginning if you're not used to like receiving that kind of feedback, or if you're just like introducing yourself into the design world. It can definitely be a little challenging. So I feel that it's happened to me in the past as well. So I have this question as well from Danielle. By the way, Danielle, thank you so much for asking us questions. They're saying, does not having a degree in the field limit you from landing a job? I know both of you have degrees, but I don't know if you want to share a little bit about experiencing that.
I don't know about you, Anthony, but I have not held a position that required a college degree yet. None of my positions since graduating required the degree. No, I don't think that'll be necessary whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for this field either. I think that it can be it can only add to, like, I guess your skill set, or you can bring it up when you're in interviews, talk through it, but I don't think it's a requirement at all. Yeah, so no. The easy answer is no. Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to ask you both a little bit more about the field itself. So how does that work-life balance work for you? Like, are the companies that you're working for right now a little more flexible with that work-life balance, or how does a day in a life kind of look like for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a solid work-life balance. I think it's probably the best work-life balance I've had throughout my career, and I've been working for about 6 going on 7 years now, full time after undergrad. Yeah, I mean, day in a life is I spend a lot of time in Figma. Yeah, I get kind of like tickets to work on, things to improve or build out, or yeah, and then I work on those. I might meet with like my teammates if I want to get, just another eye on it. Or I'll meet with my supervisor, once I've had a chance to kind of build things out and go over it. But yeah, I have no complaints about my work-life balance at all.
Yeah, I'll say the same. It is a little different because I am actually working in the office. I haven't had a commute in like 3-ish years before this position. So that took a little bit of getting used to. I had to dust off the collared shirts and whatnot. But it has been very lovely. My team has been extremely fantastic to work with. They know this is my first full-time position as a UX UI designer. So I really feel supported. And what is really great is I'm definitely more of the actually currently I am the most junior team member, but I do not feel like I'm being handheld or babysat or anything. I still feel like I'm contributing to the team. They value my feedback, or at least I feel like they value my feedback, and the work has been great. We actually use a program similar to Figma called Axure, AXURE. Well, Axure RP is the name of it, if you guys are familiar. I haven't heard of that program before I interviewed for this position. And that was another thing that they were great with, just helping me get used to it. It's very similar to Figma. Most of the skills, if not all the skills, were extremely easy to transfer. And I've learned a lot of new skills in Axure that I want to bring back to Figma in the future. So I think that's going to be really fun to implement as well. It's been great in regards to working, and then work-life balance has been lovely as well.
That's awesome. And Anthony, a question for you, since Patrick, you mentioned that you work in a team. Anthony, do you also work in a team of designers, or are you a sole designer?
Yeah. There's a team. It's a small group of us. But like I said, it's easy to get feedback, give feedback, and like Pat said, I do feel like my voice is heard and my thoughts are valued. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Awesome. So we have this question as well. So did any of you have previous experience before Avocademy? What helped you stay inspired?
So I'll take this one first. I had zero experience before Avocademy. Like I said at the beginning of this, I did not even know what UX UI design was before I just saw the random Avocademy TikTok. I think it might have been an ad, or maybe it was an actual one. I don't remember. But yeah, no, zero, nilch, nada experience. What helped me stay inspired was mainly how much fun I had in the foundations and the CJ courses. I really, this is going to sound so cheesy, but what I've been telling friends when they're asking me how this new position is, and this is how I felt in CJ and foundations, is I forgot what it was like doing something that I enjoyed. So that was my inspiration. I was really enjoying it, and I really wanted to follow that career path. And that's what kept me going.
I completely agree with, like, I forgot what it feels like to actually enjoy like what you're doing. I kind of graduated with like a mindset of like, you don't have to actually like what you're doing. It just has to be able to keep you afloat, and it needs to align with me, and it is what it is. But once you're doing something for 40 plus hours a week, like you have to like, to stay sane, you should like it like somewhat. Like you have to like it somewhat. So yeah, before Avocademy, no like professional design experience. I did like travel planning, and I found that delivering like my itineraries via like Excel documents and Word documents just wasn't user friendly. So I kind of dabbled into kind of like building out my own app. My first one was horrible. So I taught myself. So I kind of like started to teach myself like Figma a little bit, a very little bit. And then that's when I picked up the Google cert to see if like, hey, if I want to, take this as like a career, then let me try here first. And if I like this, then I'll move on to spending more money to, make sure I go in that direction. But professionally, no design experience, just kind of dabbling around on my own. And then as far as what helped me to stay inspired, I mean, as I mentioned, like once I dropped the money, I was going to finish it. Like no,
very that.
I was going to finish it. But I think for me, I knew that like I spent 6 years kind of like job hopping in and out of jobs that I just wasn't happy with. I was dreading on Sundays. I was dreading going to work on Monday. I was looking forward to Fridays and Saturdays, and I was like, I can't live 40, 50 more years of this. Like I'm ready to retire like now, and I can't. So yeah, just knowing that I like what I wanted out of my career, and knowing that like work doesn't feel like I'm going to work right now. Like it doesn't feel like I'm like I don't dread Sunday nights anymore or Mondays. Yeah, and I just knew that that's what I wanted. Even if it got hard, I knew just what my end goal was. So that just kind of kept me pushing.
That's amazing. So I'm gonna ask you some questions in regard to not the funnest part of UX UI design, which is like applying for jobs. So I want to know what the biggest challenge when applying to jobs in UX UI was for you.
Maintaining a positive mindset. When you see those numbers go up when you're tracking them, and then you see the rejection numbers skyrocket, that it's not fun. But I've actually been reached out once or twice from some people in CJ and asking this same question. Definitely that was the hardest part, but I just kept remembering that it's a numbers game. Keep applying, stay open, answer the recruiter calls, answer the recruiter emails. And I was at high 900s in my applications and like 5.5 months of applying. And it was this position that I got now was just one of the random ones. I was just like going through the motions of applying, and 30 minutes later, I get a call from a recruiter, and a few interviews later, a position was offered. So don't give up. Which I realize that's kind of cheesy, for lack of a better word, of just maintain that positive mindset. You can do it, but it really is that. Absolutely is that.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah, just to reiterate that, like, I think the hardest part was the mental, like pushing through like the rejections, and, you're applying to, X amount of jobs per week, and 90, you don't hear back from 10%, and then 95% or whatever the percent, you're getting like rejected from.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of being able to say, you see those emails come through and like start to just disregard them.
The second you see, unfortunately, just stop reading.
Yeah, thank you for applying. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
just whatever. But honestly, like after a while, I feel like I got so numb to it because it was just so frequent. Yeah, but I think that piece is probably the hardest part. Yeah, yeah.
And how did y'all deal with the imposter syndrome once like you complete your real client projects and career jumpstart, you have a portfolio and you start applying? Like, how did you get yourself past that feeling of like, am I good enough? Am I a designer? Feeling like that.
Are you talking at our current positions, or like while applying?
Like while applying, going through the interview process, one of the biggest questions I get is like about imposter syndrome, or even like having in mind, like, am I gonna get a job? Like, am I gonna be applying to hundreds of companies, and am I gonna see a result from it? Am I good enough? Are my skills transferable enough? Like, how did you individually get past that feeling?
Yeah, I can start this one off, Pat. I think two things. So one, like I can be very hard headed. So I just kind of like trudge right through it. Like you're not, just trudge right through it. But the other piece I think is practice. Like, you can go through the coursework and you can do the, go through the content or whatever, but there's so many other resources that Avocademy makes available to you, and if you don't take advantage of them, then that's completely on you. So, taking advantage of like the mentor calls and the practice interviews and things like that, that was really helpful for me. I remember being even nervous for like my first mock interview, and I reached a point where I was like, honestly, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that. How would you answer that? And just going through those mock interviews, like perfecting your 30-second intro or elevator pitch or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that makes you realize, oh, like I do know what I'm talking about. And I did do this work, and I do know what I'm doing, and I'm ready to take that next step. But yeah, definitely taking advantage of those resources was really, really helpful in helping me to kind of get through or get past that imposter syndrome.
Absolutely. Same here. There's so many resources available. And I want to say, like, the learning doesn't stop at foundations in CJ. While I was applying for positions, I was looking up books to read, podcasts to listen to. I'm a big video essay fan, so I'll be watching, one of those on one of my side monitors. I also had, it wasn't great at the time, but it was helpful looking back at it. I'm going to mention this in case anybody has this awkward situation that I had. Unfortunately, with my first applications, I got an interview before I could schedule my first mock interview. Completely bombed it. It was terrible. Like, to the level of, like, I was embarrassed. It was really bad. So I was like, all right, it's all uphill from here. This is great. We've reached the lowest point.
And that teaches you a lot too. I remember graduating from college and applying to a bunch of companies because, like, that's what they teach you to do. Like, when you're in school, like, just apply until you get stuff. And I remember going through the interview process and not knowing what I was answering. I was like, I don't know if this is correct. Like, my university didn't provide any guidance when it came to interviewing, like what that looks like, what kind of jobs to apply to, none of that. And I remember just going through those interviews and being like, they're gonna think I'm dumb. Like, they're gonna think I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's like what Anthony and Pat, you were talking about too, about like the practicing. I used to put myself in front of a mirror and then just talk and be like, okay, so how would you answer this? Is it good? Is it not? Recording myself, like, does it sound professional? Does it not? How can I tweak that? It's a lot of trial and error until you make it happen and you get those positions that y'all landed, and that is amazing. Like, it makes every step worth it. Even though there were challenges, it makes it super worth it. And that's kind of my next question. Do you feel like the transition into UX and UI design was worth it for you?
100%. Without hesitation. It was absolutely worth it. Yeah, easily.
I love to hear that. Okay, so we have another question. Oh, that's a hi. Hello.
Hey.
What was y'all's favorite part of Avocademy?
I can start this off.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably the second part of CJ. I really enjoyed, like, getting that real experience and working with my teammates. And during that time is really also where you can really take advantage of, like, expanding your network, like, make sure that you are fun, not really necessarily fun to work with, but maybe easy to work with. And you're, making those connections. You're not, burning those bridges. I got to kind of, my network started out with my team, but I've also extended that network to some of the mentors who I now have on, like, LinkedIn and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed just, like, the relationship building part of that, as well as, like, working on those real projects and getting that real world experience, because it's very, very similar to, what I'm doing day to day. Yeah.
That actually was my favorite part of CJ as well. Just kind of making, I almost want to use the word community. We were all kind of in the same boat, of new to the career field, learning while we're doing these projects, being there for one another. And if something goes wrong in, like, a design, we're all there to discuss it and figure out next best steps. That definitely was my favorite part of CJ. My favorite part of Foundations, if we want to break it up that way, picking something I was passionate about for my project. That, kind of going back to that inspiration question, definitely helped out as well. Just doing something that I was passionate about, so I could learn and not just feel like I was doing a monotonous task that I didn't have, a single care in the world about. I got to focus on something that was important to me.
That's awesome. To talk a little bit more about CJ, because I'm not sure if everybody knows what CJ is. CJ is Career Jumpstart, and Career Jumpstart is our Step 2 program, and it splits into 3 parts. So part 1 is where you get to learn advanced design skills. Part 2 is where you work on real client projects and you work on teams with other students, with mentors, PMs sometimes. And then phase 3 or part 3 is the job search. So when y'all are talking about the second part, I'm assuming it's the real client projects. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just to give a little more clarification for those that are watching. Okay, so we have this question. Totally. Sorry, I can't talk sometimes. I don't know why. Um, so it happens
Words are
every
hard. I
single
get it.
time. I know. I'm like, it happens every time I host a grad panel, and it's all the time. I can't talk. Okay, so it says, hello, totally understand if you can't speak to this, but would you say your timeline of starting to apply to jobs to getting a position is fairly typical?
I don't know if my timeline was typical. I, just for context, started applying for positions February 1st and accepted my job offer the tail end of May. So it was a hot minute of applying for positions. I've seen some people who've gotten positions extremely quickly, and I've had teammates that when I started my second project with them, they were already on like month 6 or so. It's kind of hard to say if it was typical for me. What about yours, Anthony?
Yeah, mine mine was about, I want to say about a month and a half, but I think I saw like a stat somewhere saying that like on average, or the average length is about 3 to 4 months, I think. Um, with the longest I think being what, 6 or 8, something, I don't know, but I know that the average I think was about 3 to 4 months, I think.
Yeah, so the range that we have at Avocademy for job search is 2 to 6 months. I'd say on average is 3 to 4 months, but I want the viewers to kind of like take that on average lightly because everybody's journey is totally different. Like how y'all were mentioning, some people take 2 weeks to land a job after completing their portfolio, and others take 6 months to land a job after completing their portfolio. So don't compare your timeline to anybody else because, again, you'll never know. Everybody's different, everybody interviews differently as well, and everybody's skills are different. And then second, it can be a little torturous on your own mental health if you compare your journey to other people's. Just like stay focused on that. But I hope that was helpful. Okay, so another little question is, I know, Anthony, you were working while taking the course, but this question is more so, did you ever quit your job to complete the programs, either for CJ or anything like that, or you stayed working full time?
In this economy? No, but I personally did not know I was working full time.
Same. Yeah. 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 Trust me, if I could have not, I would have, but I had to kind of just see it through.
And we also encourage it to keep your job until you get an offer and then you can put your 2 weeks. Don't feel like you have to rush and quit your job to be able to get another one. I think it's better to take your time with that process as well. Awesome. So I'm going through my little questions to see. So now that you're both full-time UX designers, how would you describe I guess like how your workday looks like now versus how it was when you were working on real client projects and Career Jumpstart? Like, how does it compare and how is it different?
Yeah. I think things are pretty fast paced where I'm at. But I feel like the boot camp was faster. So I think, if you can get through the boot camp and juggle that, at least from my experience, then, once you get into the field, even if things are quick and quickly moving, like you, from my experience and from what I've heard from others, like you should have no issue kind of jumping into that from a workload standpoint, I think. So I don't know. Hopefully that helped, somewhat helpful.
That was perfect.
That's funny that you say yours is a fast-paced environment at your work now. Because I actually have the opposite. I felt very fast-paced in a good way in Career Jumpstart. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things to do. But I have been told my position now that I don't need to work so fast, and I need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Not out of like lack of detail or anything like that, but more of oh, I gave you this I got a task to do and I finish it in half a day or a couple hours, and when I send it in for review, I get a reply like, oh, I wasn't expecting this until tomorrow or later. Things like that. It's very different, especially with this different program. Thankfully, like I said, the skills were transferable, but still, learning a new program is, you're going to take some time getting used to that as well.
And do you think Foundations and Career Jumpstart prepped you for the kind of feedback that you're receiving right now at your current job?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it has. I'm trying to think of a specific example, but I'm drawing a blank. I've had one or two feedback sessions where I was getting things explained to me that I already knew from CJ and Foundations, not in a way of like, oh, this is the new guy, we got to spell it out for him, but they just didn't realize how much I learned from CJ and Foundation. So that was a really nice feeling. I was like, oh yeah, I know XYZ. So let's move on to 1, 2, 3, and they're like, great, let's do it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I definitely second that. I think we were very, very well prepared. Like I know we talked about imposter syndrome before, but yeah, and that's something that I battled, obviously during the job search and after. Like before I started, I was like, oh my God, like, my first assignment, I was like, this should be simple, but I'm like nervous anyway. But I do feel like, yeah, we were definitely well prepared. There are even some tools that I feel like I'm even bringing to the table and showing like, things like auto layout and showing, the team how,
Oh, I love auto layout.
Yeah, like
that's
one
thing my program is missing. I miss that so much.
Yeah. So it's been yeah, I think we were very well prepared, more prepared than I thought I was going into this role until I got here. And I think, yeah, I've been able to like contribute like well thanks to Avocademy. So
That's awesome. Okay, so we have this little question. Elizabeth mentioned that they have a design background with a pretty solid portfolio. Do you have any thoughts on whether a trained designer would be ready for a job after doing the foundations program? I can answer this one first, and then if y'all have any like comments on it, feel free to jump in. I feel like after taking foundations, if you have a strong design background, you can definitely continue the process independently. So you can go out there and find small businesses that you can work with, maybe pro bono projects to keep building your portfolio. Just keep in mind that for a job search, you will need some type of experience under your belt. If it's with real clients, like even better. And if you have experience working on a team, like even better. I'd say it's totally doable. I think whenever, as a person, when you set a goal and when you have um, that desire to achieve the goal, you can definitely make it happen. I just think Career Jumpstart really lays it out in a way for you that it's like you follow the step by steps and then you can see a result rather than trying to do it independently and be like, okay, maybe this company doesn't want me to do a project for them. Now it's taking me 3 months to find companies for me to work with. And then it makes the job search or the securing a job process just take longer than it should. But that's in my opinion. I don't know if y'all have anything to add on to that.
Nothing really. I would just say, like, I think CJ does a good job with giving you a fantastic network that you wouldn't
Mhm.
get on your own, or maybe you would like in a long span of time, but you're around hundreds, dozens of mentors and people that you'll probably cross paths with again. And I think, of course, as you get deeper into any field, your network is really, really important. And they give you a really, really good foundation for that.
Yeah, that network and just the extra experience you get with CJ, those two things I think are absolutely worth the price by itself, in my opinion. You could, there's definitely, never say never. It's definitely possible, like you said, Carla, to get a position right out of foundations. Me personally, I think CJ is still worth it just for those two things right there, the networking and the extra experience.
So question in regards to when you got your job, you landed your job, you're super excited, you're gonna start. Did the company provide any form of equipment, like send you laptops, computers, and if so, what did they provide?
Yeah, for me, it was just a laptop. That's really all I needed, though. So,
Yeah.
About the same here. I wasn't sent anything, if that's what you're asking, because I'm working physically in the office. But when I got there, I had a laptop ready for me. I can take it. I do take it. It's actually right over there. To home every day. So like on the off days where I need to work from home for XYZ reasons, it's available right there.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And do you get to work from home often? Anthony, I think you work from home full time, right?
yeah, fully remote.
I don't, but I wish I did. Don't get me wrong. I actually do appreciate working in the office. It's a lot easier to get feedback, to get questions answered. But darn, I do miss working from home. Not gonna lie. It thankfully my position, they let you work from home when you need to, and I'm trying to do my best not to like abuse that privilege. I've had to do it once or twice already, and they, without question, there's like, yeah, cool, see you on whatever day. And then just we do all our meetings virtually at that point whenever one of our teammates is out.
That's awesome. I'm happy that they're a little flexible with it too. That they don't like make you feel bad for working from home one day or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
So since you're both in the field, this is a very hot question that we get all the time in all of our social media platforms. Do y'all think that AI is going to take over the role of a UX UI designer?
No
I don't.
way. At least not yet. No, not for a hot minute. I don't see that happening. Sorry,
Yeah.
I talked over you, Anthony. But
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, that was it. That was it. I just truly don't think so. Not for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think AI. I don't know. I think with most like with most fields or most industries, like you really can't replace human touch. Whether that's customer success or data analytics or design, like there has to be some type of human interaction there. I feel like to come and do what AI can, or if AI glitches or whatever it might be. It's funny because I always talk to my fiance about, like, if you ever generate like an AI picture, the hands are never right.
Count the fingers.
The fingers
Yes.
they're never right. They're never right. It's always something. It's always something like bizarre. So no, I don't think so. At least not in our lifetime.
I
Yeah,
think
just
it's so
to build on
funny.
that. Oh, sorry. No, after you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just to build on that a little bit more. I found with UX UI design, there's a balance between the art and like the mathematics, measuring pixel perfect designs and whatnot. It could, maybe one day get the mathematical side right, but the artistic side, I don't think that's happening for a very long time. Like you said, Anthony, not in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny, Anthony, that you're mentioning like the hands, because I never really noticed, because I don't really use AI that often for class, and my headphones might die soon. But just letting you all know. Um, so yeah, so I only use like ChatGPT. That's it. And Maka's our founder, by the way, for those that are watching. Maka came into the office one day and she's like, look at this meme. And it was about like AI and the pictures and how the hands were just like super weird. And I didn't get it until later on. Like I went home and I started doing more research on it. And I was like, that is hilarious. I never noticed that. That
Yeah.
is so funny.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It never gets the hand story. Actually, like, so weird fun fact before, hopefully I'm not taking up too much time, but if you're ever in like a bad dream and you look at your hands, you'll wake up because your hands it'll never be what it's supposed to be. And I think it's funny that AI also messes that up too. So it's just a interesting thing. Yeah.
That is
I'm going to
so
use that one of these days. That's really cool. I hope I remember that in a dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
that is so cool. I never thought about that because I don't feel like in my dreams I ever look at my hands. I think I'm not even aware that I'm dreaming. I'm just like vibing.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for answering about the AI. I think that will give a lot of clarity and security for a lot of the people that are looking to transition into UX and UI design. So, what advice do you wish you would have gotten before starting this journey?
Don't waste time. I think that would be my biggest advice that I wish I got if I could go back. Like I said, I had to take a little bit longer with my foundations. And I didn't mention this, but I actually waited a month from foundation graduation to starting CJ. I don't think I had a reason why, if I remember right. I think I just like literally just wanted a quick little break, and then it turned into a month. And I'm like, oh, wait, I need to hop back on this before I forget my skills. Yeah, that, and probably just get ready for the mountains of rejections that are gonna come your way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like it would be just to keep my mindset like straight on. The only thing I wish I would have done differently is honestly, if I wish I could have done it sooner. I like I said, I graduated last year in August with my master's, so I really couldn't. I really couldn't do it any sooner than August because I would have something I would have failed out of something, and I couldn't fail out of my program, so something would have had to go. But yeah, just to like do it sooner and to keep like my mindset just straight, be patient. I'm not the most patient person, so the job hunting and just going through all of the different phases was just like I was like I'm just ready to like have a job. I'm ready to just move on and get out of where I was. Yeah, and just keeping that patience in mind.
I can so I can totally relate to that. I'm not patient at all. At all. But it's patience is a virtue. Once you learn to manage it and once you get better at being patient, like everything gets so much better. Okay. So I had this question in my head and I completely forgot it. I'm trying to remember. It was such a good question. Oh, yeah, I got it. Awesome. So, do you feel like you're continuously learning now in UX UI design? Like, do you still go back to either the foundations course to review some things or go outside for outside resources and just try to keep learning all the time? Or has it been like very linear, I guess?
I can take this one first, Anthony. It started very linear. Like I said, I had to move across the country for this position with very little notice. So for about a month and a half, it was just get settled, don't think about anything else, unpack and whatnot. But recently, I'm actually very glad you brought this up. I have been learning a lot in my position, and I actually want to go back to my foundations project and kind of update and implement what I've learned, and also that'll also keep my Figma skills a little bit sharp, since I'm with a completely different tool, with learning on the job, and also various books, podcasts, video essays, you name it. Yeah, definitely still consistently learning. I think that is very important.
Yeah, no, 100%. Consistently learning, whether I'm taking little tips off of like LinkedIn. I follow a lot of like senior UX designers or senior product designers, and I take in like a lot of things that they're saying. Not everything. I feel that that's another topic. Not everything, but I do take in a lot of what they say. I also started reading Don't Make Me Think.
Oh, yeah.
Started that. It's really, really good. And I've been able to like implement a lot of those things into like, my everyday work. And ultimately when I'm designing, like that's always at the top of my head. Like my job is like literally to make sure that the user doesn't have to think. And that, that has helped me to kind of just, perform well. I think, shoot, I was going to say something else. Oh, and another thing, I'm not opposed to like Googling something. I think my very first task, I had to like do something, and I was like, I want this to be animated, and I don't know how to do that. So, a quick YouTube video or Google, and just kind of figuring out how to get what you need, get to where you need to go. Always learning and growing in this role. And I think that's really also when like you really do like something, is when you want to learn more about it. You don't mind reading about it or watching a video or something like that. And that's kind of, for me, that's when I know like, okay, I actually like it here, and I like what I'm doing. So yeah.
I love that you mentioned the animation side of it, because one of the things I love to watch the most, I guess, like, is going on TikTok or on Instagram or even on LinkedIn and just watching the videos of these UX UI designers that they kind of lean more towards like the UI and animation side, and they just make these super cool features. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't know you could do that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's
I
amazing.
remember when I like put it together, my boss was like, I didn't even know you could do that in Figma. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, me neither. Like I just learned 5 minutes ago. But I'm glad I was able to bring it to the table. But yeah.
That's amazing. Well, so we're getting closer to the end of the call. So I have one last question for y'all. And I know I asked about what bit of feedback you wish, not feedback, but advice you wish you would have heard when you started, or before you started. Now I want to know about what feedback you would give to somebody that's looking to take this into consideration and make it their next step in their life, just switching into UX UI design.
That's a good question. Pat,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you lead this one.
Okay. I think off the top of my head, what I would say is, always be flexible. If you are considering, whether it's a first-time career change, or you just graduated college and you're looking to get into the program, don't be, like I said before, stagnant. Be open to feedback, new ideas, and always just be learning. And if you're gonna consider hopping into whether it's foundations or continuing your learning with CJ, if you're already considering it, I think you're probably gonna want to do it. For lack of a better word. And if that's what it's going to be, just be ready to have an open mind.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, make sure you are definitely flexible. Come in with an open mind, and be ready to kind of reset your mindset. the other thing that I would add to that is like, I feel like communication here is so key. Communication with like the mentors, communication with your teammates. I know I said it earlier, but if anybody joined like late, like you want to be very easy to work with. So if there's a deadline that you can't make, if you're supposed to, do a screen or user flow and you can't get to it that day, like things come up. But I think being able to communicate that with like your teammates um, is really important. Avocademy does a great job with teaching design. But as far as like those soft skills, you kind of have to like they can talk to you about it all day, but you kind of have to sharpen those skills on your own. And I think that is really what makes a good designer a great designer. Is if you're able to communicate your points, why you felt like something should be this way versus that way. Just be ready to use your words, use them well. So.
That was amazing on both of y'all's part. I love that. So we got one last question, so I'm gonna make that the closing one. Any advice to people that are in CJ and are in the job hunting phase?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Anthony. I started the last one.
I would say two things. One is, of course, is going to sound super cheesy, which is really just like keep going, keep doing what you have to do. Like it's going to come through for you. I think a way to take the weight off is to also realize like take a step back and be able to like give yourself a pat on the back. Like this is probably one of the hardest programs I think I've done, and that's including like undergrad, grad school. Like this program was incredibly difficult, just because of like the time management piece and just it's so much information condensed into one. So whereas you're in college, you have 4 years, or you're in grad school, you have 2 years. Like it's so much info and it's a brand new skill that's condensed into what 3-4 months, maybe 5. So give yourself some grace there as well. So yeah, give yourself grace and push through and just remember like why you're doing this, because once you like have that breakthrough and you can come up for air, you're going to be like every piece of it was completely worth it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Absolutely. And to build off that, another piece of advice, along with just keep chugging along, get those applications out, answer those recruiter emails. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. People are gonna land a job quicker than you. People are gonna take longer than you. You might be really gunning for a position and find out someone else in CJ got it. Do not compare yourself to others. That's just gonna hurt your mental health. Keep focusing on yourself. You will look back and realize how far you've come. Like you said, Anthony, once you are able to come up for air and actually look back at all that.
Yeah. I would add one more thing too. Also, like lean on your teammates, and that's part of the reason why it's also important to be easy to work with and be friendly, because you're really all in this together. Like, not to quote High School Musical or anything, but you're all in this.
Team?
I don't watch that. I don't know. I don't watch that. But yeah, just yeah, you want to lean on your teammates and you really like lean on the mentors too. Like, they're there to help you. I've booked calls with mentors back to back, and I'm like, I know you're probably sick of talking to me, but I need someone to just vent to and like practice with. And I have never felt like for a moment that I was bothering a mentor, that I was calling too much or setting up too many calls or anything like that. And then the people who you go through this whole process with, if you were friendly and easy to work with, like those are going to be like your people, once you do enter the field. And I'm confident that you will cross paths with another CJ grad at some point in your career. So yeah, lean on your people is really the last piece that I would add there.
Well
I
said.
love
Well
that.
said.
Yeah, that was amazing. So just keep swimming.
Yes.
Keep swimming. You got this. Also, us, like the Avocademy team, we're here for you. So if you ever feel overwhelmed or anything, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Like, that's why we do this, is to help each and every one of our students succeed. So use your resources, reach out to us, use the networking, talk to other students that are also in the job search and that will understand what that feels like, because nobody else will understand more than another student going through the same thing. So lean on your community, lean on your resources, believe in yourself, practice the interview process. But I would say, in my personal opinion, I would say just like work on your confidence so you outshine that confidence, and when you go through those interview processes you ace each and every one of them, and fake it till you make it. That's what I think. That's how I do
Heck
all of this.
yeah.
I'm like
Absolutely.
doing these calls, I'm like faking it till I make it. I'm like, I'm not nervous. But thank you all so much for joining this grad panel today. Honestly, it was amazing you having here. Um, we did go ahead and drop a coupon code down below. It's grad panel for $200 off the foundations course. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to email info@avocademy.com. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye, Patrick and Anthony. I hope you'll have a beautiful day, and everybody watching.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
all. Thanks, Carla. You as well. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.